Okay, wait just 1 second. This episode is going to blow your brain. Because of that, I have to share my excitement about something I have created just for you. Do you feel overwhelmed about the humongous project of creating your website? Are you worried about sinking hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars into it? Listen, I have created websites in nearly every single way possible. All of them failed, except for one. As a result, I have created an ebook that will show you how to get a fully functioning site without spending thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours. Inside the ebook, you will learn how to build and launch your website in less than 24 hours for under $1 per day. You can download the ebook for free at www.millennovator.com/side hustle site launch. That's /side hustle site launch. And for those detail police out there listening, you can find all the details right there too. All right, now that's that. I promise to get you back to the show in just a second. Now, let's dive into today's topic and interview and get our brains blown together. Welcome to episode 6 of the Millennovator podcast. Today, you are going to pick up exactly what it takes to turn influencers into clients from co-founder of vlogging company 8080, Jack Blake. You're not going to want to miss this one, my friend.
So to me, I did something that I could really be in danger. Like I'm really sometimes risking my life sailing. So when someone says, are you scared to reach out to someone in an email? I'm like, no, it's not life or death. So I feel like some people could put themselves in this life or death situation, and then they can take a step back and be like, is this really that scary?
You're listening to the Millennovator podcast, where we host the most innovative millennial entrepreneurs, and you learn the secret tips, proven tricks, and profitable tools they have picked up from entrepreneurial infancy to straight up business empire, and every stage in between. And now, your hosts and money Millennovators, Jonathan and Will.
Give me the right now, blow right down. I'm trying to sit it now, blow right down. You trying to get it now, blow right down.
Good morning, afternoon, and or night to you, my friend. I am finally back in the studio, back from LA, sitting next to Jonathan Murner. Gosh, it is early in the morning.
It's morning here, just in case y'all didn't know.
How's it going, man? How the heck are you? I'm glad to be reunited after that long trip in Southern California.
Yeah, man. For all of you out there who can imagine, I was super jealous that I didn't get to go with Will. He got a great opportunity to go out to Anaheim and go to Podcast Movement. And I'm super happy for him, but also super jealous for me.
Hashtag PM17. It was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, all the people he got to meet, I'm just, like I said, super jealous, but I think Will got a lot of good feedback that we're going to hear a little bit about today, and I want to ask him some questions about it, just so maybe give you all a little interview before the interview, if you will.
Ooh, a new setup today?
Ooh.
I'm down with that. Let's do it. The host becomes the guest. Okay.
Yeah, okay, so Will, let's start here. Tell us a little bit about Podcast Movement, exactly what it is, just so everyone out there will know exactly where you went and why you went.
Yeah, so there's a lot of coffee involved, number one. But number two, Podcast Movement is the world's largest conference of podcasters. You've got everyone from the all-stars, right? Dan Carlin, Pat Flynn, John Lee Dumas, Amy Porterfield. She has a really great business show. To the folks who are just making a podcast in their parents' basement and don't really have a
So
reason
anybody
to
and
monetize
everybody.
it. Yeah, it really is anybody and everybody, and it's dedicated towards how can you run a better show for your listeners. How can you gain listenership? What are some of the best ways you can get guests on your show? There's all sorts of different keynotes. There's all sorts of different resources, all sorts of different booths, and just an opportunity in every single corner you turn to meet somebody that could make an impact on your business. So what an opportunity we had by representing out there. It was super neat.
Seems like a good place for us to be, right?
Yeah,
I'm
well,
glad you're representing.
the studio, I mean, we're not based in LA, but let me tell you, nor could we afford to be based in LA. But hey, that Southern Cali sun, man, it's a great place. It was a lot of fun, and 4-day conference, and came back tired, but came back ready to implement some really great nuggets to you who are listening out there right now.
Yeah, I mean, just all of the information that I've gotten from Will, what I can understand. He came back with a little bit of a hoarse voice, all the talking he's been doing out there.
I still have that, yes.
But just great information. And Will, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about, give a shout out to the people who kind of helped you get out there. It was kind of short notice, to be honest with you. It happened really quick.
Yeah, no, you're right about that, but carpe diem, right? I mean, some of the best things in life just kind of come up, and I'm a very firm believer in just taking advantage of opportunities and not saying no. If something comes across your way, and you're like, well, it might not be the best time in the world, don't say no. Do it.
That sounds like an entrepreneurial spirit right
Just
there.
get out there and try it. So I do have to give a shout out to Philip Taylor, aka PT. He is the founder of FinCon, which is a financial conference for online mediapreneurs that involves everyone who teaches cash flow, investing, personal finance, all things to do with personal finance online in the online space. And so Jonathan and I teach people how to manage their daily, monthly, annual cash flows. We teach millennial innovative entrepreneurs how to do that within their personal life and their business. So it was a natural fit. PT actually posted on the Facebook community, hey, guys, I've got a couple of passes to Podcast Movement. If you'd be willing to help me out with the booth, setting up the booth, meeting some folks, teaching about FinCon, I'd love to have you out. And I thought, what an opportunity to be better host on the Millennovator podcast. I'm in. Count me in.
Yeah, and like Will said, he was all in. He was out there. I was super jealous. But as you can probably imagine, for those of you that might know Will or that you hear him on the podcast, he's a very outgoing social person. We both are, but I think he tops me on that regard. You met a lot of people.
I have a lot of EUs. The energy units do not lack inside.
He does have a lot of
inside
EUs.
of me. But no, you're right. I mean, in fact, our guest today, Jack Blake of 8080, I met him. This was the first time that we'd ever met, was in Anaheim. And the guy from the start intrigued me, his entrepreneurial spirit. Well, number one, he's 24 years old. He is a millennial. But number two, he was out there for a very unique reason, which you will find out very soon in the interview. But actually, yeah, you're right. I got a really great opportunity to meet the guys at Podcast Websites. So shout out to Mark Asquith and Kieran for hooking that up, man. Those guys run an incredible business. They know what they're doing. They make it so easy for entrepreneurs like us just to get out there and stick your neck out there and get a show going and get a site up and live and have a very reliable resource for hosting. So Podcast Websites, thank you guys, man. They actually put on an event the night before the conference started with John Lee Dumas of Entrepreneur on Fire. John Lee Dumas is one of the top podcast producers out there. The guy's done over 1,800 interviews with over 16 or 1,800 entrepreneurs, some of the top entrepreneurs around 1,800, I said. And yes, I did get a scheduled interview with John Lee Dumas, so he will be on our show. We also got Mark of Podcast Websites who will be on the show as well. So I'm fired up about the relationships I made, but I want to segue that into Jack Blake, who we're interviewing today. So I'm at a bowling deal that they had, Podcast Websites did, and meeting everybody around, meeting JLD, meeting the team, meeting Mark and Kieran for the first time. Pretty cool. They're from England, just seeing online friends that you're able to shake hands with, you know. And there's a booth with some younger guys in it. So I'm like, hey, guys, what's going on? Start talking, start feeling around. And I noticed this guy's got a really great Sony camera set up. And if you know me, if you follow our vlog, Fuel from Millennovator, you know that I love video production. It's a lot of fun. I've got a Canon 70D, a little Rode mic. I commented on his tripod because I really want the Joby tripod that he had. And I commented on his camera because it was a sick Sony. And he's like, yeah, man, I'm actually here vlogging. And I was like, oh, cool, dude. Like, what's your podcast about? I love that. You're vlogging, you're podcasting, you're a mediapreneur. That's right up my alley. And he's like, no. Like, I run a vlogging company. I'm here vlogging JLD and kind of making the vlog all about him this weekend. And I was like, really? What? Like, you follow people of his status around?
Man, he's just taking advantage of an opportunity.
Precisely.
So, I obviously, again, wasn't there. I have listened to this interview that Will did, and I tell you, just common themes that run through these interviews, Will. They're very similar. I think a couple episodes ago, we had a theme of you just got to get out there and do it, but also you got to take advantage of the opportunities that are set before you. And I think that's something that you're going to see in this interview and hear. And I'm just really excited about you guys listening to it and that I get to listen to it again as well.
Well, let's cut to it because Jack knows what he's talking about, man. And he landed 2 of the top influencers in this industry in a matter of like 72 hours of one another, which is absolutely phenomenally incredible. Jack's going to teach you why, number 1, you shouldn't be afraid to go to the top early if you're prepared to do so. And number 2, don't let anybody tell you no. And if they do tell you no, move on to the next.
Slap him in the face. No, I'm just kidding.
Move on to the next because you're going to get a yes. You shouldn't be afraid of what might come out of the no because what comes out of the yes is magical. Let's do it.
Check it out one time, I got a show to do. And if you love hip-hop, I'm about to roll with you.
All right, Millennovators, I am sitting here at Podcast Movement on the Expo Hall floor at the FinCon booth, looking at PT Philip Taylor, the founder of FinCon, the man himself. But I'm sitting here with somebody even closely as interesting as PT, Jack, my friend Jack with 8080. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm awesome. So Jack and I, for those of you that are listening to the show right now, Jack and I met, what was that, 2 days ago?
Monday or Tuesday? Yeah, 2 days ago.
We're long acquaintances, right?
It's very nice to meet you, man. I'm glad we had the opportunity.
I'm happy you're here, first of all, and I'm happy to have heard your story, man. Listening back to your story, you are here for a specific reason, and that was to film John Lee Dumas. Can you talk a little bit about your company real quick, and then let's go into what led you into founding this company? Like, why are you an entrepreneur? Why are you a millennial entrepreneur?
Okay, I think why I'm an entrepreneur will be fun, but I'll answer your first question. I came here to vlog, video blog for John Lee Dumas, and the way that I got that job was my co-founder. He used to work in sponsorship for events like these, and one person who is working for JLD this week actually reached out to us and asked if we were interested in the opportunity to vlog for him. And John was familiar with the concept that Gary Vee created, Gary Vaynerchuk, and we pitched him, said, hey, look, we'll follow you around like Gary Vaynerchuk. We'll help you create content for your YouTube. We'll make micro content for Instagram, and you can see the finished product and tell us what else you want. In short, I have a great co-founder, a great business partner, and because of his connection, that was my first way into the door. We got here and we filmed, and it was a great 2 days.
What I want to focus on in a little while, but I'm going to preview this to everybody listening. John Lee Dumas is an all-star in this field. He is an influencer, a large influencer with a very, very large cult following. People love the guy. He's co-founded podcast websites. He's founder of Podcast Paradise. And him and Kate just teach everything people need to know when it comes to podcasting, building community, and digital marketing. They kill it, right?
Yeah, they do.
You went after a very big fish very early, and I admire that. So tell me, you didn't just get there overnight. What's your background? What's your story? What led you to 8080?
Yeah, so he's a headliner. Like, that's what we were looking for. The reason we went after him was because I think it would give us some recognition, give us some notice. But my background, I'm 3 years out of college. My first job out of college, I was a skipper on a sailboat, and I actually do that in the summer still. And the reason I did that and the reason I learned how to sail was because I wanted to grow my international network. I wanted to meet other people my age and sort of be around them. I wanted to learn from them. One thing led to another. I started being around these influencers, guys like Sam Evans, who makes awesome videos out in Australia and all over the world.
He's a man. I had no idea you had that connection. That's cool.
I had him on my boat for 1.5 weeks, and I was not a videographer at the time. I was thinking about what did I want to do with my life. I kind of found this really cool opportunity. I'm from Kansas, so I'd never sailed before. I actually got my license in less than 5 months.
I was gonna say, do they even have lakes in Kansas?
No.
Like, that is a cornfield paradise.
One of my first times I was out on the water, I got stuck out on the water because I didn't really know how to use the wind. And luckily, one of my good friends was out in the lake, and he towed me back in. So it was
So you had
hilarious.
no prop or nothing. Like, you were not getting home if it weren't for him.
I wasn't going to figure it out. This is all before I took my courses. I just went out there. I was like, all right, I'm going to try to sail a little bit. Eventually, I have a license now. I took some classes with American Sailing Association, got a license, and then I got this job out in Croatia. And so I've done that the last 3 summers. But the coolest thing about it is I saw Sam Evans. I watched this 19-year-old at the time filming for this big company, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, why shouldn't I do that? Like, why can't I do that? I used to make videos in high school.
Okay, so you had a bit of a background and a passion for that.
I did. I used to follow my friends around in the summer and make videos. We used to do crazy, not illegal things, but like just fun, like goofy stuff. I mean, we were in high school. We weren't drinking or anything like that, but we were just playing around.
Yeah.
And so, I had a little bit of a background in video, made some movies for my friends. I stopped in college. For whatever reason, I lost my enthusiasm for videos, and then I picked it back up after seeing Sam. And so I credit him to giving me the passion for the videos again.
So Sam Evans, if you're out there listening to this show and happen to be, you are a Millennovator, my friend.
I appreciate it. I've told him many times.
That is the inspiration. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was it. And so I'm sailing, and I'm working for this company. Kind of took 2 years off, traveled, still trying to figure out what I was doing. I was living down in St. Croix in the Caribbean. Had a friend of a friend who said maybe I can get some work down there. I still hadn't really picked up videos. I was making videos for some of the people on my boats, but then my mom called, and we had this heart-to-heart talk, and she was like, why don't you start making videos again, like for somebody? You can make them for some company back in Kansas City. And I was like, Mom, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So
more of a corporate, like, do the video marketing, because everybody's into videos right now. They just don't know who or how to make them, right?
Yeah,
So
everyone needs videos.
Right.
At the time, I was watching Gary Vaynerchuk, his daily vlogs. I just read his new book, the Ask Gary V book, and it was all about social media, and I'm using social media, and I'm just thinking these companies could use social media. Why don't I try to take vlogging to a company in Kansas City? And before I went home, I pitched a travel agency, and then a friend of mine who has a nutrition company, and I pitched them both the idea, and they were like, yeah, man, like, we could really use your service, and we would love for you to do that. So that's kind of why I went back to the States.
Cool. Wow. So go back into, because you mentioned this nutritional company to me, us talking off the mic, right?
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about that story and how that's kind of led you into, that was one of your first clients, obviously, one of your first bits. And a lot of people listening to the show are very much in that boat that you were in. They knew, hey, I have a skill and a knack, and I'm passionate about that skill and knack. If I could just get 1 or 2 people to sign up with me, then I could pursue that, right?
Yeah.
I need a bit of a tipping point. So how were one of those 2 companies kind of a tipping point leading you to 80/80 and where you are today?
I think they were a tipping point because nutrition specifically, I think, was that tipping point. This guy, his name is Benton Munyon. The company is called Helio Today, and he is a innovator. He's 24 years old, like I am, and he founded his own company after 3 or 4 years studying underneath another nutritional company. And I think the tipping point is nutrition can apply to everybody. And so I was starting to get in a lot of different areas really quick, and so I started to meet a lot of new people in the Kansas City area, but also in the nutrition industry. The reason it worked out so well is because him and I were on the same page with vlogging. We had watched this idea that Gary Vee started, where D-Rock follows around Gary all day and pretty much documents the business processes, the meetings, the conversations, and all the behind-the-scenes stuff that goes on while you start a company, but you just don't really see it much. So I think the tipping point was he and I were on the same page. We both were missing something. We had holes somewhere in our business or our life, and we filled the gaps. I think that's kind of one of the things that I've had since college. I was missing something. I felt like I had this gap in my
Avoid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
How did you meet your co-founder? One.
Mm-hmm.
How did you guys say, I'm offering this? How did you get on the same page?
Almost a year ago, I started making vlogs for Helio and
The nutritional company.
the nutritional company.
Cool.
9 months into it, I reached out to my co-founder. His name's Jay Austin, and he's based out of Kansas City. I reached out to him because I saw him at a few networking events with the nutritional company that they were at. There was like incubators in Kansas City that we were at. I said, hey, I see you all over the place. And by the way, I forgot to tell you, I went to high school with this guy.
So you guys go back.
Yeah.
And people say don't form business relationship with friends. How do you feel about that?
You know, I don't think that I've had business relationships with friends. I heard somewhere that you shouldn't have a business relationship or a partner with someone until you know them for at least a year.
Sure.
And
Absolutely. Oh, gosh.
Jay Austin, I went to high school with him. I didn't really run around with him. Then I go to college for 4 years, and then I go travel for 2 years. So I hadn't seen him in 6 years, and then I find out he's done all this stuff. So I don't really know all this business.
Nice. But there was a trust that was there because you had known him previously, who he was, but you
Right.
guys hadn't formed a true, like, deep, daily friendship or business partnership. So that is, okay.
I loved my high school. For what people might think, it was an all-guy Jesuit high school, so there was a bond. It was
Right
like
on.
a fraternity there.
Yeah.
So even though I didn't really hang out with him, we had mutual friends, and then one thing led to another. We mature. 6 years is a lot of time, especially in college. You become a different person, and then I'm meeting him, and like we're on the same wavelength. We're cut from the same cloth. And the same with Benton, the founder of Helio. I didn't really run around with him so much in high school because we went to different high schools. And then I started working with him a little bit with a nutritional company, and I'm just seeing that he's like similar. Jay and Benton were similar to me, but they had already started something and kind of accomplished something that I felt like I hadn't.
Right.
And they might say the same thing about me. They're like, well, you did this sailing, And I was like, okay, yeah, I give myself some credit for that. Like we're very similar in that way. We had a void, and instead of waiting for someone else to fill it, we tried to fill it ourselves.
And that's an entrepreneurial mindset.
I think so.
I think so many people that are in this Millennovator movement feel that way and are searching for that one thing, right? What's the one thing? I don't know if you've read that book.
Dan
Lovely.
Papazon or Jay Papazon?
I think it's Jay or Dan, yeah.
Yeah,
Papazon.
Dan Keller and Jay Papazon.
Yeah,
It's
that is
climbing
it.
Amazon right
nice.
now.
It's killer, man.
Yeah.
It is awesome. You've got to find the one thing and just get after it. And that's kind of led you into where we are sitting here today, as funny as that is. It's all about relationships, right?
Yeah.
And you've linked into some influencers. So share kind of how you guys got in with JLD. What was the pitch, right? What was the ask there?
So that one thing, if I may answer that first question, was if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. My sailing was a hell yes. It was like, yeah, I want to be a skipper. Okay. Then the next thing came around. It's a hell yes to vlogging. Like, that sounds cool. I am entrepreneurial minded, and let's follow around someone. Let's shadow someone, and let's try to grow. Like, that was a hell yes to me.
Right.
But what was the other question?
Well, you're passionate.
Yeah.
You're showing that. So when you guys said, we're going after John Lee Dumas,
JLD.
and we want to be the people who are creating his very first vlog at this conference.
Yeah.
What was the ask? How did you get in with him and that network? What was your value prop there? Because you guys are 12 months in at that, or less than that?
Well,
at that time?
our 80/80 company is 3 months old.
Yeah.
I had been doing this individually for 2 other companies, but I actually didn't do the asking. So I give all credit to Jay. He is the business development guy. I'm more head of productions, but obviously Jay has rubbed off on you, as you've already noted, for Pat Flynn, which we can talk about in a minute.
Right on.
Jay reached out and said, I think he gave him some pitch, and the guy who was his liaison said it incorrectly or didn't fully describe it the way that Jay was hoping, and he sends back another email. He's like, no, you know what, scratch that, just tell JLD that we're going to follow him around and record him like Gary Vaynerchuk. That was it. That was it.
So he tried to have this pitch. He tried to have this whole
he
email
tried
series,
to explain it.
And he was like, you know what? I'm throwing up on you right now
Yeah.
in your inbox. This is a disaster. here's what this really
Yeah,
is.
sometimes it's just better to be simple.
Well, you know,
And-
Pat Flynn talked about that in a message that he had at the very start of Podcast Movement. I don't know if you were in there, but he had an episode with the founder of Lead Pages.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I wasn't in there.
Those of you that don't use Lead Pages, it's a really, really, really strong sales page, drag and drop. You can create really, really awesome high converting pages online for cheap, by the way. It's great. And so Pat did this interview with this guy and realized after an hour-long interview, hung up the phone and said to himself, this sucked. This wasn't right.
Oh yeah, I heard.
I didn't
this.
do it right.
Yeah.
You know, he was like, I could have brought so much more heat, so much more value there for my listeners. I got to call Clay back.
Yeah.
Picked up the phone, called Clay back. He was like, hey man, it wasn't you, it was me. You know, like pulled that note. Can we reshoot this? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's re-record it. Now it's his highest downloaded episode.
Right.
I think it's got like 450,000 downloads.
It's a gut feeling.
And it was just one of those things. And I think your partner felt the same way and wasn't afraid to say, scrap that. Here's what it really is. And what was the response?
Oh, that's what you wanted to do? Okay, sure. Something around the lines of that.
Sick.
It was that simple.
And now you guys were here following JLD, getting interactions with him. How did that work out?
You know, it's cool. John's a great guy, and he let us visit his personal life. You know, like we go to dinner with him, and he just walked in the room. Awesome.
Isn't this great being on the floor
it's right
live?
there.
It's awesome.
So yeah, it was cool. We get to follow him around. I got to hear a lot of what he says, and I got to see a sneak peek of his Podcasters Paradise workshop. I didn't really know all this podcast movement, sort of the gravity of how big these podcasts are, and he really set the tone. So yeah, it was great.
Well, and you even mentioned you're going to go home and do what?
I'm going to make a podcast for sure.
I love it. You're on board.
Yeah,
so
Jay and I will start a podcast.
Yeah, and hey, JLD could be your first guest, right?
That would be cool.
That's easy enough. So let's talk briefly about not being afraid to hear no, right?
Sure.
You and I talked about this, and you have a really great story of just sticking your head out there, man, and getting uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it paying off. So share that real quick.
You know, being uncomfortable is probably my favorite thing in the world. I know when I start to get butterflies inside or a little tremble, like my hands are maybe shaking a little bit right now, I know that's a good thing.
Oh, that's how you grow. I love that.
When I got on the plane to go to Croatia and interview for this job sailing, I was like, I don't know how I was feeling. I never felt anything like that. And then when I passed, it was the best feeling in the entire world. And so I knew that I had to keep doing that. I had to keep pushing myself. But being uncomfortable is a good place to be. I think if you're comfortable, it's not somewhere you want to stay for very long.
Yeah.
I think if you keep pushing the limits, you'll find that you can do more than you ever thought you could.
No doubt. I do a weekly vlog called Fuel. And I did an entire episode on being uncomfortable, getting uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because that's where the best results are produced. So how did you take that and implement it within Pat Flynn and what you've done this week? Because I saw you following him around just yesterday, and I know that wasn't by mistake or happenstance.
Yeah. So on the topic of that being uncomfortable, if you go a very uncomfortable state and then you kind of tone it down a little bit, it's so much easier. You're not as scared anymore. So to me, I did something that I could really be in danger. I'm really sometimes risking my life sailing. So when someone says, are you scared to reach out to someone in an email? I'm like, no, that's not life or death. So I feel like some people could put themselves in this life or death situation, and then they can take a step back and be like, is this really that scary? It's not. You're just...
They're humans.
Yeah.
All of us here are humans.
You're just afraid of the future and what might or might not happen. And so for me to go give you some context, on Wednesday or 2 days ago, I saw Pat Flynn. While I was vlogging JLD, I was in between some film, and I got on Instagram and I saw Pat Flynn was live on Instagram in his car, and he was driving like with his kids on the way to the podcast movement, I believe.
I watched the same video
Yeah.
with the goofy face filters. and
Yes.
stuff. Yeah. In fact, I mentioned that to him when I saw him earlier this week. I was like, I love you being weird. Keep doing that.
He's awesome like that. And so I did my research. I knew who some of the speakers were. I'd heard of Pat Flynn before, and so I was like, I'm gonna wait for him to like have an opportunity. I'm gonna wait to have an opportunity for him to do something that I can maybe talk to him. Either it was going to be in person at the conference, something like Instagram. It just popped up,
Right.
and I think the millennials our age might be more comfortable doing something that I did and just reach out to them on Instagram and say, hey, can I vlog you? Or hey, can I work for you? Can I work a week for you for free? I think we might be more comfortable doing that online, and then it opens the doors so that we can go in person and be like, okay, well, I already got the hardest thing out of the way. Let's just follow through.
Well, let's talk about how that alone, I've got to interject with that because that's an investment in yourself and in your future.
Mm-hmm.
You saying what you just said, let me just vlog you for a week for free. You're taking a lot of time and providing a lot of value for that
Yes.
person.
Yeah.
The future is there, right?
Yeah.
Like you're seeing an opportunity and you're taking that and you're not afraid to do that. So props on that. Well
Thank you.
done. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And the follow through is probably the most important part. You have to have experience in whatever it is you do. You have to have experience before you reach out to these people. Taking those small jobs for free sort of gives you the permission to experiment, and it doesn't put so much pressure on you to have the perfect outcome. A lot of video work that's done is very subjective. So we think that we have to make this perfect video where one person thinks the video is great and the other person may not like it. I love the vlogging because it's really kind of not up to me to create the good content. It's sort of up to Pat and John Lee Dimas to provide value to the people that they're talking to, and then I'm just there. So I can maybe ask some questions and maybe provide some storytelling to the whole vlog, but this vlog scene is kind of fun because it's up to them.
They're the voice. It's their
Yeah.
personal vlog. Yeah,
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense. So then you reached out to Pat, and what was the response?
So
was there a response?
I wonder if he could have saved that live video, but I said, hey Pat, can I vlog you at Podcast Movement? And right away he answered, and he was like, vlog me at Podcast Movement, what's that?
And you would think, like,
And
with
so
a
I'm
figure
laughing.
of hundreds of thousands of followers. that
I
you
think
would
on
know
Instagram, I don't know if he's like hugely popular on Instagram. There's like 50 people watching his live video, and I'm like, okay, this is small. Like I had to say
that.
something.
Yeah.
And I'm here. So
Right.
so he-
Opportunistic.
yeah. He said, what's that? And I responded, I will follow you around like Gary Vee.
That's your go-to
That
now.
was it. That was
Yeah.
all I had to say.
And it worked.
And he goes, and he even said it. He's like, oh, follow me around like Gary Vee. Interesting. Yeah, let's talk. And I was like, sounds good. And then I saw him the next day, the morning of, introduced myself, and I said, hey, I'm Jack Blake today. Like, that's my Instagram, so that's why I put the today. But yeah, it was that.
Nice.
That's simple, really.
And then you guys followed them around that day? for a bit, and got to know him and his community. And
Pat's smart. He didn't just say yes right away,
Yeah.
because that's a weird concept. It's foreign to him. He actually said, how about you follow me on Thursday, because I'm meeting up with a group of people who are my students, and I think that would be better content. And I believe we gave him a little explanation of how it would work best beforehand. Like, we want to be in a place where you can talk to your fans and answer questions, somewhere where you're showing that you're really the thought leader and you're providing value for other people.
right, and then you were there for how many hours?
We started at 1:30 and we finished last night around 11 or 12. And I mean, we really aren't even done. Like, me and Betty, my coworker, have to go at it all day today.
And let me ask you this: so, what was the outcome? Like, what is the get on that? I mean, other than helping out Pat Flynn, who is an absolute brilliant influencer, one of my favorite podcasts that there is, and one of my favorite brilliant just online minds
Yeah.
is Pat Flynn.
Yeah.
So just the fact that you got to do that in itself
Yeah.
is pretty cool. But what other doors do you think, or could you see that opening for you and for 8080? I mean,
So I think for Pat, the outcome was I'm sitting there doing something that he can't really do in the moment of being this teacher. I was able to sit at lunch and ask his students, what would you want to see from Pat Flynn's vlog? Like, what would you
Sweet.
like to see? And, they gave us more answers like, yeah, we'd like to see the day-to-day sort of behind the scenes of him creating these courses, or just putting all these questions that people answer like into videos so that they could refer back to them. So that's something that Pat gets out of it. Obviously, there's micro content that can be created on Instagram or Facebook. If he has a 2-minute rant about a topic that's on one of his courses, that's really good. There's a lot of stuff that Pat can use out of this vlog. And an event like this where he's talking about podcasting, it's obviously the content is targeted towards people who want to learn more about podcasting. For myself and for 8080, our company, we reached out originally we didn't reach out. We got the opportunity by saying we want to vlog for John Lee Dumas so that we can get influencers and we can show that some of these big business people are using vlogs as a medium to promote their business.
Yeah.
And the reason we want to do that is so that we can go back to Kansas City, talk to some of these smaller companies, these smaller businesses, and say, look, this is a real thing. Like, vlogging is a way to show your business and show your personal brand and combine the two. And so that was our thinking. And now, because we vlogged for Pat, and he had such a good day, he even told us yesterday, he was like, this was really fun. And we hadn't even seen the edits, He hadn't even seen all the footage.
Yeah, he probably just enjoyed being, and I saw him walking around yesterday on Facebook Live. His hands, or 2 days ago, hands out here just walking around meeting everybody here on the expo floor. Yeah. He loves video, and you guys are able to exemplify and multiply, because now he can act in his own. Yeah. When you're on video and you're shooting video, you're consumed in that, right?
Yeah.
But out of the master class like that, which, by the way, that's so cool that he was able to just open a door. Yeah. Anybody in LA or Anaheim who wants to meet up, like, I'm here, let's do it. That's so great.
We actually got stopped we went to downtown Disney. I didn't call in early enough to talk to Disney, and they wouldn't let us come in, and they wouldn't let us take our cameras. And so we ended up just filming with our phones.
Oh, really?
And he had a mic on him, and like everything worked out great.
Yeah.
There's a concept that I love. It's called high agency. And the idea is, if you get stopped, are you going to just stop right there, or are you going to go around it? And I try to live that way. I don't want to get stopped. I want to try to find a way to go around and figure out another solution.
Whether that's taking a cell phone versus the awesome Sony you've got, or having your friend tow you from the sailboat in the middle of the lake, right? Like, yes. There are ways around everything.
Yeah, and I really do live that on the sailing. Like, I have to do what's in front of me right away.
Yeah.
There's no options. Like, if there's a storm, like, you have to figure it out. So I transfer that into my work life, and I'm very grateful for that sailing opportunity. So.
Well, man, first of all, thanks for being here.
Like,
you guys took an hour out of your day. I know JLD just walked in, and he's probably like, "Where's Jack at?"
we're done.
But so, if you had one piece of advice for somebody out there who was maybe like you were when you were down in St. Croix, and you were just still trying to figure things out, and you knew that something was missing, and you knew you had a few skill sets, but how could you take those on in your entrepreneurial mindset? Like, what would you tell somebody to do?
It's a great question. You hear it all the time on a lot of podcasts, and you think you'd have the answer right away. I think that going towards your fears is a sort of theme takeaway that we've talked about many times. That might seem like a high-level idea. One thing that you can do is really apply it into the day-to-day life. Try to say, maybe this isn't fear, but it's comfortability or some of these things that we talked about.
No doubt.
Maybe it's, I'm tired, I want to go to sleep. Like, I could have maybe spent an extra hour last night editing. Going that extra 5 minutes is usually where the magic happens. And so if you go towards some of the things that you might be afraid of, that's going to open opportunities. That's going to open the door to new things that you might never thought of.
You're absolutely right. I see that every day. Mm-hmm. You may take that 5-minute thing resonates. Last week we were working on some stuff on our site, and I was late. It was really, I think it was like 1:30 or 2 in the morning. Really late. I was like, I'm done. My co-founder was like, no, you're not. Like, we still have to draw out this funnel, this side of this whole aspect side of a course that we're creating. And I was like, all right, let's spend 10 minutes and draw it out. That 10 minutes turned into an hour, which was so jam-packed of helpful resources for us to provide our community. It's incredible.
Momentum's great.
That would have never happened had you not made that jump and said, I'm not settling. I'm going for it. I'm just going to do it,
Yeah. I believe in that. That's where the magic happens.
Awesome, Jack. Well, guys, this was Jack Blake. Jack, where can people find you? Who do you work with? Like, tell everybody where you're at.
Thank you very much for having me here, Will. Appreciate it. I am on Instagram at jackblake.today, and we have a Instagram for 8080. It's called 8080 Rule, and you can find us at 8080rule.com. And yeah, hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, wherever you'd like, and I'll try to answer any questions. If you want to sail, I've sailed for a company called the Yacht Week, and there's plenty of articles about them. So
Sick.
yeah.
That's awesome. So whether you need a vlog or a sailboat,
Yeah.
Jack Blake's your guy.
And if you want them both, I'm definitely your guy.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here, dude.
Thank you very much.
One time I gotta show the dude. And if you love hip hop, I'm about to go with you.
So how cool is that I just happened upon this guy, right? Just started chatting, just very simple stuff, man. And
The
then
life
realized,
of Willie D, man. Just run into people.
you know, but it's all about just creating a relationship with one person. And as Jack explained, creating that relationship, providing that value to JLD led him into providing that value into Pat Flynn.
Oh, yeah.
Which who knows what doors that's going to open.
Exactly. I mean, even what he talked about, the reason he got into sailing was to create international relationships with other millennials. I mean, how awesome of a thought process is that, especially when you're right out of college? Like you're thinking, I got to get connected to some people internationally.
Yeah, which by the way, he sailed with people like Sam Ovens. Sam Ovens runs a consulting business. I think Sam Ovens, I pulled it up earlier, has like 332,000
That's
followers on his Facebook page and likes. I mean, the guy knows what he's doing, right? And Jack's not afraid to say, look, you're a human. I'm a human. I think I can provide value to you. Why don't you listen to me?
The other thing that I was really excited to hear from Jack was just the fear factor. Like when you have those jitters or you're nervous or anything like that, you got to know that's when you're doing something right. I mean, you got to push through that, because I like what he said. I like a couple little tidbits he said. But first, he said, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no.
Yeah.
And then he said, you know, when you're getting those fear, that you can't stay comfortable for too long. When you got to have that fear factor and that jitter every once in a while. If you stay comfortable too long, then you're doing something wrong.
And pretty cool that the guy was like, what's so scary about introducing myself to Pat Flynn? I was on a sailboat in 10-foot swells. Like, why would I be scared about?
I'm not risking my life.
Why would I be scared about DMing somebody who is of status quo? That doesn't bother me.
Yeah, that was
You know?
awesome.
So I guess if you really want to get over that fear, then go do something absolutely crazy and risk your life. And then it will seem very, very simple just messaging somebody.
Yeah, no jumping off buildings. But yeah.
By the way, if you are listening to the show and you are not yet a part of the Millennovator community, what are you doing? We share these kind of tidbits and these nuggets and these facts and these tips, tricks, and tools in the inboxes of the members of our community every single week. Head over to our website, millennovator.com, to join the community. It's super simple. All you got to do is put in your name and an email, and let's get to know each other. We love the members on our site. Not to mention the community that we have on Facebook. Be sure to be on Facebook and join us on Facebook as well. We share everything there too.
We really appreciate you being on the show today, and hopefully next time Will's voice will be a little less crackly. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm working on it, man.
The man can just talk. He just talks. But we appreciate y'all being on the show. Until next time, Millennovators, have a good one.
See you guys next time.
One time I gotta show the dude. And if you love hip hop, I'm about to go with you.
Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to call your mother and tell that woman that you love her. And if you love the show almost as much, subscribe to us on iTunes and leave us a sweet review. We're definitely not ashamed to blush. Now, go forward and implement what you learned from today's episode into your business. We cannot wait to personally hear your story of success and replicate it 1,000 times over.
Give me the mic.